Oh, about to go live.
5, 4, 3, 2.
You don't count after 3.
Oh, you don't? That's right.
Mr. Jack, the red light's on.
Oh, okay. Welcome to the Board of Directors workshop for Monday, October 16th. I'll call the meeting to order. And our first item on the agenda, actually, should I ask if anybody wants to some order comments?
Yeah, resident comments?
Okay. Seeing none, then we'll call the meeting to order. And the first item is to discuss the remodel of the 851 building lobby and restrooms. So Todd, I guess you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone. I feel honored y'all showed up for this workshop.
When I see you on the agenda, Todd, I'm here.
All right, very good. Well, let me get started here. We don't want to be here all night, so what would y'all got the packet? I believe this cover sheet that'll be on the agenda. Hopefully, what we're looking at here this evening is interior renovations of this building. And we're looking at 3 different phases. So the first phase we're discussing this evening is restrooms and the lobby hallway area, which will take me into what we'll do is we'll go through this and I'll preview the things that would be changing, recommendations, colors, samples, things like that, and then we'll go through some pricing and get your thoughts.
Shall we hold our questions till the end of the presentation?
Interrupt anytime you want.
All right. That was more of a suggestion.
So, hopefully I don't hit Tim in the eye with this laser, but we are right on that board. We got the hallway all the way down through there, and then the bathrooms are right in there. All right? So, here's a before picture of the bathrooms. Men's is on the left, ladies is on the right.
You could have told me the other way around.
Yeah, it's larger too. Much larger.
Depends on what time of the day you go in.
So what we're looking at doing is replacing the floor tile and the wall tile, which is not really pictured in this, but I'll show you. It shows up in a couple other pictures. It's basically behind the toilets and urinals. Looking at replacing the partition walls and the vanity and sinks. Also getting rid of the large paper towel dispensers and going with hand dryers.
Thank you.
So,
Can I say one thing about hand dryers?
yes.
Oh, dude, come on, Jack. Hold questions till the end.
No, you said I could. Only one question, Can I have a paper towel rack to take it from my
Yes.
thing to the hand dryer? Because it drips all the way over to there.
We can do that. There's going to be a paper towel, smaller paper towel dispensers to try and limit it.
What color is that on the
Don't get caught on the colors.
This is why you wait for questions.
See, this is why you hold questions, Todd. See?
You get derailed.
I'm just testing you to see whether you recognize it as pink and ugly. So this is a type of partition with a wood grain look, only a little darker, so it blends with the other materials that are going in there. But that's the only picture I could come up with. Also, you see the recessed lighting in the ceiling. We're going to do some recessed lighting to light the restrooms up a little more. Right now they have the cove lighting, which is very dated, but it works. And here is an after as well. This is a sample of the tile. You can see a real sample of it here on this bullet, the board. That will be on the floor, and then it'll go up the walls as a backsplash with a 2x2 pattern, border, and then another bullnose on top of that. So it'll be quite decorative, but it will have minimal grout lines. Easy to clean, minimal grout lines, and it'll be long lasting. And it's not a slick type tile, so it'll be a safer tile.
And we're sealing the grout lines.
Yes, absolutely. You have to seal the grout annually. And then color swatches, they don't look real good on the PowerPoint, but on the board here.
4
couple of
different shades of
samples.
beige. I like it.
Yeah, well, it'll blend. It's better
Timeless.
than the starkness that's in there. We'll accent a little bit around the vanities.
So Todd, who was the interior designer that chose these colors?
Me.
Oh, jeez. That's scary.
That was wrong.
Let your eye work with it.
That was real wrong.
So here's the handicap stalls. The plan is to the cumbersome little sink there. That's all one unit, and the tile goes up and over. Obviously, the new tile will go straight across. And I'll show you in the next picture what the plan is, but that's where the tile would be, so on the floor and the walls.
All right, just one question. How? I mean, if you're handicapped, I hate to pick up Leonard, but that dispenser there above the toilet. Is
That one
fairly
doesn't
high
make
up.
much sense, does it?
Yeah. Why?
No, it's definitely in the wrong place. So I've been talking with Leonard, and I downloaded the ADA requirements to make sure everything's mounted at the proper heights moving forward. So
Okay.
here's what we're looking at. Sink-wise, updated that. The mirror with the shelf on it. Here's a picture of the hand dryers, which have low decibels. They're heated. They're ADA compliant. Was it 4 inches, I believe? No more than 4 inches sticking off the wall. And then new toilets. And this doesn't show it, but the toilets I spec'd out have the 2-position flush, automatic flush. So there'll be water savings there. With the
So motion detected? Is that what you mean? Or?
yeah, the infrared.
If you sit on the toilet for longer, it flushes for longer.
Yeah, there you go.
Essentially how it works.
Oh, does it work that way?
And that would be on urinals as well, so they stay a little cleaner. Here's the before of the countertop. Same as there's 3 in the men's, 4 in the women's lavatories as one whole area. So want to go with more of a solid service with the integrated sinks under mount. Easier to clean, and what's that?
Still have 3 sinks though?
Yeah, still have three on men's, 4 on the women's.
Also motion?
No, we're probably going to stick with the same faucets that we have now. They work great, and we have 0 issues with them. So
Push buttons, right?
yeah, they're the metered
They gotta
type.
stay on
So yeah, so if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
How many fixtures or toilet stalls, let's say, are on the women's side?
There are
7 on the girls.
Yep, 11 total.
Like I'm answering the question, I've never been there.
And on the men's side, there's
4 on the men's.
4
So you're
and
speaking
2
with
urinals.
authority.
2 girls. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sure is. So that's the women have a large bathroom. Yeah, let's see here. All right, so here we are in the lobby area for flooring. We have the area in where the tile is now. There, as well as that's the front entrance. The back entrance has tile as well. We're looking at doing this vinyl planks, vinyl plank tiles, VPT. It is commercial grade. It's glue down. It's water resistant. It's slip resistant. It's got a texture to it, so that's real important at the entrances. And so it's a great product to have. It'll bring in the different wood tones that we already have going with the doors. So try to bring that all together.
How resistant to tears is that?
It's very resistant. It's unlike since it's planks. It's a heavier material, and there's an actual sample on it there. It's got some thickness to it. It's not like your old sheet vinyl stuff that you see around. Yeah, you can throw that around.
Is it stuck on here? Or?
Yes.
Oh, how fancy.
No, I guess I can't take it.
You can take the whole board.
Yeah, take the board.
Be like
That's what-
Vanna.
A lot of hotels are switching over to that now instead of carpet.
Yeah.
We'll put
Are we
that.
going to try to lighten up the carpet so that the room's not so dark?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, yeah. That's
The
right.
carpet now,
Do you want to touch the tile?
there's an actual sample of that on the board.
Okay, yeah.
Is that what the rug's going to look like then?
This is a sample of the carpet, and this is a sample of the...
It's kind of dark.
It's still dark. Maybe we can lighten that up even a little more.
Yeah, we can look at doing that.
Significant. No, it's not been.
I'm okay with everything but the table.
There's not a whole lot of difference.
I can't, 29.
Come on, where's your color coding?
Yeah, if you get too light, you don't want to have increased cost of maintenance on it from cleaning it all the time.
Show up dirt for it.
Yeah.
This is the important building.
Why do we need any carpet?
Thank you, Steve.
And the tile is, the tile, or it's not tile, the carpet is carpet tiles, right?
Carpet tiles, yes.
So if we need to pull one up, we can pull one up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the best thing to use
Same
commercially.
size.
Yeah, 2x2. Side
Be
Jack?
nice, Jack.
Todd, not to belittle your color choices, but did you get any advice from anybody as far as
We
colors?
did. We had an interior design company go through with us, and I played off of their ideas, but it was
Their cost was like
way overboard.
$350,000.
So we stole their ideas.
$180,000 just for materials.
Let's hope they weren't copyrighted.
So this is the colors that they recommended then?
The same palette,
Similar.
yes.
We'll say similar.
A neutral palette is what they recommended.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like an incredible amount of money that they wanted. I mean, it doesn't make much sense to
It
me.
was
But
a lot of money.
my concern is that these buildings were all built by top architects, top interior designers, and that now we just need to keep it up at the same level quality of that we got it originally, and it's I'm not. Not belittling you, Todd, but Todd, you're not an interior designer or something like that. So I just a little concerned that going this route that we're, I'm just a little concerned about that. I can't believe we can't get some consultant in, or find out maybe from Disney, some of the people that worked on the project to see if they could help us. But I'm just a little concerned.
All right, we've got an expert in the audience who'd like to address this. Gary?
I was telling Patrick and Todd before the story here.
Tremendous waste.
This is the same tile, this size and this color that Disney's putting in all their refurbished restrooms.
Yep.
If you go to restrooms in front of Epcot or Tomorrowland or anywhere else, when they redo them, you'll see the walls and floor.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
If you guys don't mind, if we can let Todd finish through and then
I'm sorry.
You mean hold questions till the end?
No, well, I will respond to Paul. There's the materials that we're using are all commercial grade. We really haven't changed any of the design aspects, just some color update, and other than redoing the tile with vinyl planks, which Gary just confirmed is the product to use. That's really the only changes
Okay,
that are out
if
there.
it's pretty minor, if we're not talking about just
No, we're not talking
repainting
any dramatic
everything and
changes.
redoing everything, then that's
that was when we originally brought the interior designer in. That was they were like a palette and changing everything. Interior design palettes and styles change, and it's been 10 some plus years since this was designed in here. So they were looking at making it more modern, adding a little bit different style to it. But the cost was so hard to swallow. Todd took a look at what it would cost to do it himself. And I think when he gets to the cost part of this, you'll see why we're recommending this route as opposed to going down the
Yeah, and I
road.
saw that. I think I saw that original one, and to me, it didn't look like a classic. It looked very trendy, and I think we want something that's very classy, very comfortable, that will last over time. So I didn't like whatever that designer came up with. I didn't like that. So it's okay.
So we'll go on to the next slide. Here's along with the upgrade or updating is updating the furniture that's out there. It's quite worn out. Yeah, right.
If you get in those things, you can't get out.
You sure can. So we've looked at something that's durable, that will last. These are leather sofas.
Sofa bed?
Sofa net, and there's love seat and chairs. So we'll group those together. Plenty of seating, and they look comfortable and durable. So here, this is some requests that have been made for high tops, bistro type tables, to be able to sit and do your tech stuff and your tablets and computers in a comfortable spot. So this product here brings together the color of the doors right here we have throughout the building. So So it blends that, and then the black blends with the leather sofas. And it's also a restaurant grade product, so it's heavy and it'll last many years. Hopefully we don't have people taking off with them out the doors.
Are those metal textured legs on those things, or what are they?
Metal, yes.
So are you going to have things like that old boy there where you replace up?
No, that is the old stuff there.
No. But I mean, are you going to replace that? with-
Yes, that'll be
You'll
replaced.
still need spots for you to need to display things.
Correct, yeah. So we'll definitely have plenty of display areas.
Isn't that where the
But
TVs are?
these type tables will group like 2 right in there, 2 on the other side up by the reception area. So when people filling out their comment cards, they have a place to sit and do that. Then the next 3 slides is acoustic panels. So we all know that the lobby area just echoes something terrible. The acoustic panels that are there now don't do anything to buffer the sounds because they were covered with a like a plastic type, impermeable material, which does nothing to absorb sound. So the plan is to recover all those panels and the big round thing there with coordinating colors. Chosen burgundy for the upper panels. Haven't quite decided what color to go with here. That's lower to the eye. I'll show you the next panel. This is where the burgundy panels would go in the upper area of the up midway on the wall, because that's where a lot of the sound is echoing from. So we'll do 3 panels in each square there, or rectangle, and that'll help to absorb a lot of the sound. These acoustic panels have tons of options. So if you wanted to look at doing graphics on them, the Celebration logo or lifestyle images, things like that, you can. They're about twice as much, but it's a nice option to have out there. We wanted to go with that. This one says acoustic panels, but you have acoustic panels there, but the main image of this is where furniture would go. So you have love seat or a sofa, and you have a couple of chairs. Then on the other side of it, right outside this door, would be 2 love seats facing each other for group setting. And then down in front of the Celebration logo on the wall would be 2 more of the high-top bistro type tables. So people are waiting to talk to reception, they have somewhere to sit. Then, any questions on those things before we get into numbers?
Yeah. So Todd, in the restrooms today, there's an infant changing table.
Yes.
Is that going to be replaced, or are we using the same one?
I'll look at. I know the one in the women's restroom needs replaced, so we'll probably just update both of them.
Okay.
Or all 4 of them.
Infant changing tables. And then the only other request, I don't know how expensive they are, but I know Koala Care, the same people that make the changing table things, they make a infant safety seat, which if I have to go to the bathroom and I have a toddler with me, where do I put the toddler when I need to go to the bathroom? So you put the toddler in the seat, you strap them in the seat, and then they can sit there. I can't imagine a plastic seat mounted to a wall is going to be ridiculously expensive, but just having been a recent parent with a little one, anytime they have it, it's a huge lifesaver.
What's it called? The Koala Care?
Well, Koala's the brand.
Koala's the manufacturer.
It's like a little jump seat that just folds down off the wall, and then you can strap the kid into. So then that way, so that then they're right there with you. Or if you have 2 kids and you need to change one of them, but the other one's still running around, pop them in the seat, and then they can't go anywhere. It's kind of nice.
How about just a caged area?
Just a cage, a cage, and maybe a chain with a little water hose. It'd be great.
Right, well, so
just one question,
yes, sir.
Todd.
That
bottle filler.
Yes.
Can't we just get a faucet with a hose? $3,850 for that thing.
That number is going to come down, I believe, because I think I had an image in there, I believe, didn't I? If not, it was
filtered also.
Let's see. Maybe I didn't have it in there.
It is?
No, I guess I didn't have the image. It's on the board. The one I had spec'd was a duplicate of the fountains that we already have out here. Plus, it was a chilled unit because those right now are not chilled. Most drinking fountains should be. And then it had the bottle filler component. Well, you can go with the bottle filler component only that's chilled for half the price.
Oh, all right.
So-
And keep the existing.
Keep the existing. We can just go to the left of what's existing.
Is there anything
there.
wrong with the existing fountains?
No.
No?
Just that they're not chilled.
Place the whole
So
unit, just
we'll try and incorporate a new bottle filler
Yeah,
with
people
the
need-
chilling
You know, a lot
unit.
of
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Pull it together.
They say they need filter.
Yes, Debbie.
This table,
Uh-huh.
end table, is it end table? I'm just looking at the price. We just did a 15-room office. This price is very high. Can we just maybe look at?
Absolutely.
I mean, is it made of like granite or anything I'm missing, or it's just a low table, right?
It is. It's, yeah, just an end table.
Bourbon cherry, is it real wood? Is it?
It's real wood.
And it's on
Do you
sale.
really want real wood with wet things going on it? And I know it's on sale, but it's $360. We paid like.
That would be my concern too, if it's real wood.
Real wood, you just don't want real
True.
wood because the first thing we're gonna do is.
Wet thing on there is going to raise.
Go with a laminate type top thin.
Could we just like maybe Google some, Wayfair has them for, I mean, we paid like less than $50 for some gorgeous tables that are indestructible and you can put water right on them and.
Is it because of the website I got it from?
Sorry?
The
No.
website? BTOD?
Anything wood's gonna be destroyed in the first day.
Understand.
Yeah, I
I'll look
agree.
for some
I mean,
laminate.
we've got to get something
Also,
durable
could you
and
go
made
back
out of
to the
concrete.
first, to the tile, to the first indoor shot of our restroom stall?
That one there?
Yeah. What's wrong with that? Like what is wrong?
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
first of all,
I
the
can see
tile
you
is
might want to
just...
paint it, but I don't like the pink that was chosen, I'm sorry. but-
Okay.
Okay, the tile is,
The tile is really in need of replacement. It's dated, first of all, and you can't clean the grout.
it's coming back.
It's, it's,
I got black and white.
they're very hard to clean and keep clean because of their age.
I do too.
I think it's a,
like that.
But it may be
it's a-
more. I think
We could field
it
trip
may
the
be more.
bathroom, I think it's fine.
I didn't trip to the bathroom.
Jack, I think it's a good question.
Can I see the women's bathroom?
The reserve study calls for interior renovations this year. So
Yeah.
we looked at the things that are most outdated and the most in need now this year for being replaced. And this is the plan that Todd came up with. Again, there's he's going to talk about the numbers, but $131,950 budgeted for interior renovations. And he's bringing the project in at about $65,000. So he'll talk a little bit.
There's,
Phase one.
I mean, there's always other things that can be done throughout the community. I think with the reserves have planned it out pretty well for each facility and location throughout the years. So you don't want to let things go too long to where they just start wearing out. I mean, if you look closely at the laminate partitions, they've got holes in them from being beaten up, different hinges put on, and hardware. It's time to clean them up and bring them back to the celebration look
We just have wood floors everywhere.
with different colors if desired.
So the rationale for this, why and why now? It was in the reserve study, but
Right?
things in the reserve study can be reversed.
Oh, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
why now?
I think the board definitely has an option of saying we don't feel like anything needs to be done. I will tell you
What's been
that
approved already?
Let's see, this is,
What's been approved on this?
this actually makes it drip.
What has been approved? Nothing. Just
Nothing
the
has
just the
been approved.
reserve
Dryer
study.
these trying, is it?
the grout is in dire need of replacement.
No, the dryer he's talking about, it sticks out like that.
You have those kinds of bathrooms in the upscale community like this.
What's the breakdown between if you only did the bathrooms versus doing the bathrooms and the?
Outside, you're just talking tile and carpet, really, the acoustic panel.
Probably half, I would say.
So you're talking 60-something thousand for the bathroom, 60-something thousand for the.
No, 30,000.
30,
It's
Because it's 64 total.
64.8.
the whole thing.
For the whole shoot match.
I wrote down 131,000. Did I?
That's what we have in the budget.
That's what's in the budget.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe helpful if you tell them what the other two
So,
phases are.
Sure. Well, the other two phases, because we have reserve money next year as well, because they split it in half to do renovations here. We have the front door stoops of changing those so they'll be safer for people to walk up and down. So that will be one item.
With handrails.
Yes, with handrails. different design. There's Danny Bumpus, I believe, had done a design here a few years ago, so we'll probably mimic that one as long as TCC approves it. Then the back entrance where the oak trees are and the concrete that's all heaved and shoved up, that's a larger chunk of it is to, plan is to turn that all into paver areas, raise it up so it doesn't flood, and create some better landscape beds back there. And then third phase, what was the third phase?
Conference and meeting.
Oh yeah, these rooms. That would be new carpet and updating the blinds and paint and things like that. What's that?
They look nice to me.
What are you going to do for morning?
Yeah, nothing much to do in the offices. I mean,
What is it?
they're okay.
So what becomes of the display cases with celebration history?
They stay, I believe. We just have to find it. If there's a better location, we'll move them around, but we don't have any plans to remove them.
So I'm not an architect. Is there any way to design the front where you actually have a ramp coming in?
That's what I was thinking.
I would think there is.
Yeah, in the front.
Yeah, I'd have to check
Because
the
quite often
fall there.
we got something in back and I can't park back there and I've got to park somewhere to get in.
Good point.
We've done it at Spring Lake.
Yeah, if we're spending money on that new stoops, we need to put a ramp in.
A ramp in there, yeah.
But that was for next year's phase, right?
It is.
yeah, that's next year.
But it could happen in the spring because next year's right around the corner.
I have a question. If we're going to put a ramp in there, do we need to put a ramp or a slope on the,
That's what we're talking about, outside, up front?
I'm talking about a slope on the curb, though, in the curb area?
Yeah, you'd need to, yeah.
Is that right?
And probably open up that grass there and have a loading and unloading area too, like the church does.
I don't know. I wouldn't think you would have to. Would you want to? Sure. So you have handicap in the back. You could designate a spot out front for that.
So I think to answer David's question, why now? It's mostly aesthetics. I mean, I don't think anything's failing. It's just to
What's up with the
upgrade the
tile?
look and aesthetics. The tile, the grout is really bad in the bathroom,
Well,
and it
this-
needs to be replaced.
This is the first impression that a new resident gets, and I think this building needs to look nice and not fancy, not Taj Mahal, but nice enough that you're proud of it. And people will look.
Right. The furniture is not functional. It's old and outdated. It needs to be replaced. So that was the approach behind this project, is to try and spruce it up and give it a nicer look.
It's all because you got rid of that relief map. We got to bring it back.
I remember you pushing me my first year working here to get rid of this.
So, oh, sorry, Larry. Go ahead.
So the one side of this, and I don't mind spending the money to do part of this or all of it, I'm not sure exactly where I sit on it yet, is that this is from our reserved budget.
Correct.
This is not something that's going to cause any dues increase this next year or anything else. We've got some other things to talk about on that later, but it's not a operational budget item. It's money we've put away for the last 10 years saying that we're going to need to redo this area. This could be 20 years. I don't know how long this particular item's been in the reserve item or how often it's rejuvenated, but wherever it is, it's over a certain year period that you go through and you re-update the items. I'm more into the restrooms because they are the original restrooms. They've been there 20 years probably, maybe 21. I can't remember when this was built. My son was here for the very first year of school here, and the restrooms have not changed in that time. So I would like to definitely go through and see what we can do in there. The lobby, I'm sort of neutral on. I do see reasons to upgrade it. I mean, the furniture out there is horrendous to sit on. It really is. That's really all I have to say right now.
So Todd, I'm just looking at and this is going to be nitpicky, I'll say that up front now, but I'm just looking at the difference in between the two different dryers that you had here. The Toto one, which was the high-speed dryer, and then the Trimline one. I'm pretty sure I've used this trimline one, and to put it bluntly, I think it sucks. And I understand.
Maybe you're using the wrong end of it.
I might be using the wrong end.
It's supposed to suck. It's supposed to blow.
Suck the water right off, right? There's a joke in there. But anyways, so the only thing that I would say is that I don't want us to just go with something because it's less expensive. If there's, I think there's maybe a middle ground in between these two, in my opinion.
Okay.
I'm perfectly happy with the dryer that's spec. The only thing is that I don't want us to kind of get in a situation where, you know, the 851 building was redone and we got rid of the paper towel dispenser and put in a crappy dryer. You know, I'd rather put in something, you know, and I understand that it's a trade-off between noise and versus one that doesn't work as well. But that's the only thing. I mean, I would be, you know, willing. We have the money in the reserve budget to do it. I think that if we're going to spend the money and do it, let's go ahead and do it right, because I would hate for us to buy these and then in 2 years decide that they're not what we want, and then we have to pay to upgrade it anyway.
Okay.
The only other question that I had was that, you know, I know that you had the tile work and that sort of piece in here and the cove lighting and that. What's the trim? Is there going to be any planned trim in the bathrooms at all, or is it just going to, like the cove, I assume you're going to get rid of because that's just in the drop ceiling, right?
Yeah, we'll probably leave the cove in there because it would be more expensive to redo the drywall to get rid of it.
Right.
We'll just add in a few LED recessed lights that will fall into place with those because they are pretty dark in there.
Yeah.
Along with that, there's soap dispensers and smaller paper towel dispensers, countertop trash holes, I guess you would call it, that are under mounts. So hopefully we don't have paper towels laying all over the place.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. No. I think it all makes sense. You know, I think that, you know, as a couple of other folks have mentioned, you know, as far as it is one of our first impressions that we kind of give.
Yeah.
Leonard's going on a field trip. But, you know, I would just say I don't want us to look at something and just come in under budget, just to come in under budget.
Right. There is a happy ground you got to follow with the hand dryers, because if they dry real quick and you know, so you can get in and out, they're usually pretty loud.
Right.
And we don't want real loud, you know, in the bathrooms, so when the door opens and it flows through the meetings and things like that. So they're midway is where we need to be, but I'll definitely research it more.
That's
and
all.
make sure.
I mean, even if we end up with this, I'm fine with it. I think it looks nice.
Well, I'll talk with the manufacturers and the suppliers to make sure we're getting the good quality.
Okay.
Oh, I saw her raise her hand.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Hi, sorry.
Yes, Debbie.
I am all for remodeling, and I do feel the lobby area is very, very tired, but I just did a little field trip with 3 ladies in the lobby. One was in her 30s, one was in her 40s, and the other one was in her late 40s, because I don't want to just be like the old person being boring, but they love the tile. They were like, that's the best part, that's the best part. Everyone thought the sinks maybe could be updated or whatever, but to rip all that out just to spend money to remodel, I'd rather see it go towards either the lobby or some other area, but I think the tile's fine. I think the tile's
Is the tile in the bathroom?
On the floor, is it? Is it broken or is it?
I mean, you can always go about a couple tiles if there's a couple
I
broken.
mean, black and white.
walls.
If it's black and white, that's what's. I mean, that's coming back. That's what people are doing now.
I mean, if there's somewhere in the middle, it might have been dated, but they love the tile. I love the tile.
It's green and beige.
It's green beige.
Go look at the tile. Maybe you guys have different tile. I don't know. Go look at the field trip.
We're going to take a break.
I'll come back. Does everyone trust my color?
It's cleaning. It needs a good, you know, like a good tile.
Right.
Go look at the field. It looks great. Everyone's doing the field trip.
Go back to the original picture.
All right.
That's the tile.
Yeah. Well, the appearance is good.
The problem with the tile right now is that the grout is.
Yeah, I think it's more that.
disgusting.
I think it's more that.
It's really gross.
There you can see
Well, you
it.
know what? You can clean it. You can.
No, you can't clean it. That's going to be.
Spruce up the grouting?
You got to grind it out and re-grout
You
it.
have to grind it out.
Okay. it's too stained. Right
Well,
now,
and then new
It's been there for 20 years? I mean, we haven't changed it? 20 years,
I can
that's a
tell
long
you,
time.
I asked the
Hold
same
on a
question.
second.
I said, why are we cleaning this? It's disgusting.
All right.
We can't, there's nothing we can do to get the stains off of the ground.
So what are you replacing it with? Not tile?
no, that
Tile with minimal grout lines where they're butted up against each other.
Not that one, this, right?
Not the floor.
The big tile.
Okay. That's less porous than the other, right?
Correct.
All right, Paul's got some comments too
Yes,
now.
Paul.
I know,
I don't
you know,
know.
I do.
And the other thing, sorry, before I finish, that paint color, can you go to the paint color?
The pink is not. It's not one of the
Which
colors
pink
we're
color?
using.
The paint color,
That was not the real color we're
Maybe
using
I
now.
passed it up already.
No, the
paint
bathroom.
color in the bathroom was hideous, that paint.
No, we're not.
Oh, no, that's
not
got
the
nothing to do
color.
with it. No, that was just to show what the stalls look like.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that pink is nothing.
I got it.
It would be,
And then I just want to make sure it's very clear that we are not spending $360 on a table that's going to get ruined. I will look at some and send them to you, and I'm sure
Okay,
you can
great.
get some, but
that's a good point.
Paul's
I agree with Debbie Lee.
Yep,
That can't be a real wood table because
that's a good point.
the wood will get
trash.
All right, Paul's up next.
Okay, I'm up next. No, I agree with the changes. I think they do need to be made. My only, what I'd like to see though is that we have, like we have, for architecture, we have Jeffrey Mallon that we go to, and he's our go-to guy. For landscaping, we have a consultant as well that we go to, and that, I think, you know, if we can find somebody in the community or whatever that is like them, we don't pay them a lot, they're on, you know, retainer when we need it, because we're going to have a lot of remodel projects, and I think if we can find somebody that, like Jeffrey, knows what Celebration's all about, knows, you know, it's a classic kind of community, that I think that would give us a lot more confidence. And you know, I don't think it costs a lot of money. It'd be like, you know, just go in and review the items, just like we do with Jeffrey.
For the color
There's that
selections.
Color selection, all that stuff. I think
Just
that would,
listening to Leonard in the hallway.
not you, Leonard. I'm not voting for you, Leonard.
No, you don't.
What I had done the very first time I left is I went over and whispered in Jeffrey's ear. He's over in the Arc right now. I said, Jeffrey, can you do bathroom remodels? He goes, nah, that's not what I specialize in. I go, no, I just mean go through and advise colors and such. He goes, oh, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, or and he probably knows somebody as well. But yeah.
But we have him, we pay him
Okay.
a certain hourly amount. He works up a certain number of hours each month for that. And this would be something that
Because we're going to have other stuff. This isn't the first thing.
he could
we're
spend
gonna
an
do.
hour or two
Yeah.
and just see what you got. Lead it towards a color palette.
Yeah, because that's just
I was telling these guys out in the hall just a minute ago, I said, you know what? These colors here look all fine to me because they're sort of boring.
voting it down.
Right. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I'm not trying to, because that's what looks good to me.
Yeah, there's nothing bold in
It's
it.
not too much bold and stuff. But I know other people like that bold, and people really say, oh, this or that pops. So let's get something within the history of Celebration through Jeffrey looking at your color palette, helping you go through and redesign it. And
That'd be great.
I don't have a problem with the
Okay.
60, 70,000.
All right. So look, any more discussion on this because we need to move on.
I have 4
David?
points.
Okay.
One is, if we're talking about the reserve budget, is that not the same budget for the civic corridor? It's a separate budget?
Different.
It's a replacement reserve.
Okay. Second, if we talk about design, I think it's important, like Leonard was just saying, to have some professionals involved and even consider something that's not square. In other words, there may be some lines in the foyer, so if you're going to consider that. Third, I would like to see what the 3 phases are. You alluded to those, but there's nothing in print. And fourth, I wonder about the timing of all this. I know that at the last board meeting, there was either unanimous or virtually unanimous assent from Paul Kinzer's remarks about a study, a task force on a community center, and I believe we were going to have a resolution for the next board meeting. And so I don't know where that's going to go, but I'd be cautious about going too far with spending too much money on this facility when there might be something else in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So I don't know what the larger plan is, but I know that everyone was nodding their head at the last board meeting, and I think Leonard was going to be drafting a resolution for a study, for a task force. But just to put that in context, because we don't know what the future is going to hold.
Well, that issue you brought up about a future civic center would not be coming out of this reserve anyway. That'd be coming of the civic corridor
Right,
reserves,
we can
or
always-
the capital improvement
I just
reserve.
thought, can we always roll? I mean, we don't have to.
No, but I'm saying we'll still use this building and continue using this building ad infinitum.
This building's not going away.
Yeah, it's not going away.
Right. So I think a good way to look at this is after you build a civic center or a new building, you're going to have to put that new building on your replacement reserve study.
Yeah.
And then in 10, 15, 20 years, you'll have the same conversation about that building.
Well,
I think it all really depends on whatever that larger picture would be. There may be a major renovation, there may be an expansion of this building. I don't know. Or it may be that this building goes for sale and a different building is built that's larger that contains everything. I don't know. I don't know.
And in that, yeah.
So rather than invest in something that may disappear, this is not to negate short term, but let's not do a major overhaul until we've discussed it. We have not discussed it because we haven't constituted a task force yet.
There was some talk that Danny had looked at, actually, plans years ago, if they were to expand this building, going and adding the second floor and doing that, which means it could be ripped up a stairwell, and we don't want to put all this
Right.
in the lobby and have to rip it out if that comes very quickly, because something could expand with this building. So that is a very good point.
I didn't even know that. And so who knows what the future discussion is going to be?
There's always chances for that, so I think, I can't imagine something happening like that for 5 or so years.
It could be several years.
So,
I don't know.
I don't think, because there's always, you can't,
Right.
we could say not do anything because, let's not, like we retell the pools, and we're talking about, like, what next phase may be to redo a pool, so.
all right. Well, look, the question I have for you, so we can
But
move
you're
on.
right, you need to consider that.
We got 3 other items. Can we put this on the agenda for approval, for a vote on the next meeting?
I think it's too soon.
I don't think so, because we would like to do some of this before Thanksgiving meeting.
I think
And before Thanksgiving.
I think it only takes 2 to put anything on the agenda, number 1. But number 2, I think we've got 2 different things going on here. You've got $32,000 for the bathrooms, $32,000 for the central hallway there, or the atrium, let's call it. And I don't think either one of those, in my mind, is out of the ordinary. I don't think any of them are too high. I think what it does is it brightens things up for the next 3 or 4 years, and I can't see us ever selling this building unless the school district makes such a good offer. We can't afford not to get rid of it. So, and I doubt if that's going to happen. So in other words, we're going to be in here doing it eventually. How, is that the right word? Bad do we want this building to start looking before we do it, is part of the question in my mind. And I'm actually for 64,000, is it 64, 70, somewhere in that neighborhood. I really haven't looked at the numbers on it, Todd.
64,848.
We can certainly split it to bring back for the agenda item and have it as 2 separate items.
Okay. Well, let me make one more statement. The timelines that we have to be able to do this, because we don't want to shut this building down for an extended period of time, because that interrupts all the activities that were planned, the meetings that were scheduled, our ability to do our job in the building. So the plan is to get it scheduled for the Thanksgiving weekend, the extended weekend. We have a contractor that's willing to come in and do that for a reasonable price and work around our schedules of events.
4 days, you can do all that?
Yeah. Well, not all of those things. The main thing that would be shut down is bathrooms. That's what you have to really concentrate on, because you can't go without those.
Atrium wouldn't be really a shutdown.
Right. It would be.
What are the things that are holding us up, Debbie? What are the things holding us up moving ahead? So you got questions about the air dryer, Jeffrey, have Jeffrey look it over, right? What other, the table,
Well,
what else we got? So let's.
Okay, well, personally, the gray, although that was very, very trendy and everybody was going with it, it's already on its way out. I think it's too trendy for our conservative building. I like the rest of it, except for the table things, but I think the gray is too trendy. I think it's kind of, Who was the designer? I just think we looked at one designer, right? I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I think
that's
the
where
plan is
we
great.
can get Jeffrey Mullins'
Yeah.
input on
Sure.
that.
Or a designer, maybe Joanne King, somebody just like a little color or something, it's kind
I guess the
of,
question is,
I mean, I like
put
the
it on the
furniture.
agenda for the 25th.
I mean, well, it sounds like it's got to be
I'd
voted
like to
on the
do it.
next Monday, meetings if we're
Two
doing
items or one
Thanksgiving.
item?
What about doing it over the Christmas holidays, is when everybody's gone out of school? I mean, does it have to be, do we have a little wiggle room, or is it like, I mean, if you want this done, we got to move on it. I mean,
Well, it's
it's up to you guys. I don't know. I just think,
it's the proper time to get it done, we'll just put it that way. It's, if it
I'm
doesn't
comfortable
happen,
with
it
the
doesn't
design,
happen.
is that
I mean,
if we
it's
have
been 20
Jeffrey,
years, what's the rush? I
Can
don't-
we
if we have Jeffrey look at it and consult and say, this is, this works with whatever, I'm happy with
How
whatever.
about if we say we put it on the agenda for the 25th, only if we get these questions answered?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's get these questions answered. What are the questions we need to answer?
Right.
Which is, have Jeffrey take a look at the color scheme
Right?
and
Can I have one other person with the
add his
suggestions?
suggestions to the,
All right. Debbie, give that to him after the meeting, okay? Let's move on to the next item then.
Well, wait, we got to get the list of stuff so we can put it on the agenda.
Well, I'll go down it and just make sure I have everything.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that, we're going to look at the jump seat for the restrooms. We want to separate the pricing between the restrooms and the lobby. We want to look at a better quality hand dryer for the bathrooms. We want Jeffrey, or if there's someone else that Debbie gives us, to give us a second or third opinion on that.
And the
And then we
table.
want to make sure the table's not a wood table, something that won't be damaged.
I think
Okay.
that's-
Actually,
That's good.
I think you misspoke, but you said Jeffrey or. I personally want Jeffrey to look at it. I don't really care whether someone else looks at it or not, from my standpoint, because Jeffrey's the architect. I arrest in here every week when we have appeals meetings, and he tells me what colors go together and which ones do not, and he's the guy I go with because he's the guy. I mean, it's that simple.
Okay.
I'll leave that to the rest of the board. We want to make sure we're bringing back what you're
No,
asking us.
I was correcting, I think you said or, and I want to make sure,
Minimum.
minimum of Jeffrey.
Minimum Jeffrey, and then if additional person.
Yeah, whoever wants to throw their name in the hat.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, because I'm sure Jeffrey's got.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. So not, okay, I get it. Never mind.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Todd, thank you very much.
Thank
sir.
you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Todd.
Now, next item is the update on the 2018 budget changes.
A little over a week ago, the CROA board met for the CROA budget work session, and throughout that discussion, we kind of looked at top-down where we are for this 2018 proposed budget, and there were some suggestions that were made to management, so we went back and we've made those suggestions, and I want to address those with you here tonight. And if the board doesn't mind, I'm going to skip the first income line and do that last, and now just kind of go down this list so you can see what we've done. We looked at the reserve fund interest income to offset expenses, and it's in a placeholder in this budget under the prior year surplus line. When we talked to our accountant at corporate, they said put it there for now, and the proper transfers would take place once we utilized it.
So you can do it then.
We can do it, absolutely. You can actually utilize your reserves for offsetting expenses within your operating budget now, because they are pooled reserves. It's not a best practice, but we're talking about reserve interest to utilize for it.
You're talking about which reserves?
Your not your replacement reserves, but your
Surplus.
capital.
Okay.
Your
Okay, not replacement. Yes, then I agree with what you said.
All right. Under expenses, we looked at increasing the park and pool monitor hours on Friday and Saturday to be open until midnight. Under facility maintenance staff, we moved $10,000 annually for CJC for newspaper delivery expenses. And then if we skip the next line, that was left in there. The next one for net programs and events, and it was increased to $90,000. It was just an additional $2,300, I believe, that was added. And then landscape management, we had last week Dave and Paul, as the two board members that are overseeing that strategic focus area, met with the landscape companies that bid, the final two, and had some conversations with them and interviewed them about the RFP and their proposal. And the one that you see here, and I'm not going to announce it right now because we're still in the process of talking to these different companies, but when we went back out to the companies and asked them to give us their final and best price to make sure they had their square footage correct, This one actually went up about $47,000. Now, it still is your low bid out of the other proposals that you received, but it did go up by $47,000. In CJC, we increased Town Hall Network an additional $15,000 for a new website as requested. And our member communication line increased due to the addition of the $10,000 for the maintenance staff to deliver newspapers. Now, again, the newspaper line could go up or down based on any changes that we make with how we deliver that product. What this brings us to then, if you go back to your first line under income, under this preliminary draft budget, we looked at all of these things that you asked us to consider, and you asked us to keep the increase, if there was an increase, to no more than anywhere between 2 and 2.5%. It comes in at the high end of that at 2.5% increase, which would raise the annual fees to $934.32. That's a $22.92 increase, and it's again 2.5%. I pulled a little bit of history. The last time assessments were raised in Celebration was between 2011 and 2012. Your assessments went from $861 to $911.40, and at that time that was a 5.5% increase. You've been flat at $911.40 since 2012.
Steve, question then. The landscape contract, how much is that going up from what we budgeted for last year?
It's approximately, I think, about $150,000 increase over where you were last year.
And that includes a $47,000 increase?
Well, it was more until they bumped it by 47. So when we talked about it originally, it was closer to $200,000, but it's about $150,000 over where you were last year.
Okay, so this new contract, or this new company is $150K above Davy?
Above where you are in your last year, your existing Davy contract, yes.
Yes.
That's what
And part of that is with the performance that we've seen and the drive for a higher level of service. And we were very clear with all of our...
Expected to raise their performance, we expect to pay them.
So
We told them, don't underbid to get this job and expect to cut corners. You will be held accountable to the scope and price it accordingly.
So the real question, I guess, is whether Paul and David feel very, very comfortable with what company we have listed on here right now. I know you're not making a decision necessarily right now at this point. I just want to see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without saying names, of course.
Understand?
Yeah, when we rated on all the different categories, they were highest in every category.
Okay.
For
I'll
me,
go one step further. If you, Paul, David, myself, Todd, and Susan were all in the room, and I think it was consensus, 100% consensus that this was the company that could provide the best service for us.
And we're talking about 2 of the 3 contracts. Todd had prepared 3 separate areas for, and we're talking about 2 of the 3.
These are the CROA contracts, not the CROA service area contract at all.
So in essence, we came in cheaper.
Gotcha.
So basically, with a $150,000 increase divided by the number of houses, we went up $35 for the landscaping contract, which is about $12 less than what we'd be paying for regular dues. I mean, whatever it is, landscape ate us up. Okay.
Well, and I think too, I mean, to me, no one ever likes to increase assessments. We don't want to be here having that conversation. But I also hate to say it, landscaping looks like crap in a lot of areas. And so I think that it's very easy for me to go to someone and say, look, we tried. It didn't work. And, if you want it to look nicer, we're going to have to pay a little bit more to do it.
I think in consideration of an outright $35 increase, we had nothing to do with. We still came in well under budget for all the other areas.
Yes.
Well,
So,
we
Steve,
really did.
thank you. I think you did a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We were tasked by the board to really look at every line and look at how we operate our operations here, and we did that. All of our leadership team went back and said, is there a better way that we can do things more efficient, more effective? We made some staffing changes recently, so I think that we've put in place the right tools that we need and the right team to get us where we need to go.
All right, so how do we feel? Anybody discussion?
I don't know if 15K is enough just for the new, because that's for the new website and for the upgrade of the equipment too, right? Because there's only 5K additional in there for the equipment. Right? Or am I reading this totally wrong?
Yeah, the entire line does have the 5K for the it's actually $7K for the computers that we need.
Okay.
And then it has the additional $15K for the website.
For the website, okay, all right.
I thought we talked about that being a one-time expense and not being an operating expense. Do we not do that?
We did have that discussion, but the consensus of the board was that it was a one-time operating expense.
Oh, an operating expense.
Rather than capital expense.
Okay, I
That makes
forgot.
sense.
I didn't recall that. Okay.
Okay, further discussion? So everybody good with that?
Yeah.
So we're going to vote on that on the 25th then?
Well, we need to
Well, we
send a
gotta
letter
notice it
to
first.
So we know
homeowners,
we-
and it's usually, it's been, well, it's typically been a month prior to the vote, so I think that we'll either ask for a special meeting in November or just vote on, the only problem with November is that your meeting's so late in the month, and we try and get these
Very late.
incorporated as soon as possible so they can get everything taken care of.
Yeah.
So we might ask for a special meeting before Thanksgiving to vote and approve the budget.
Dumb question, do we have to vote to notice the residents?
No, it's best practice. It's what we've done in this community. The work
Yeah,
we've
right.
always done.
So that should be on the budget for, or that agenda for,
25th.
You don't have to
25th.
vote that, no. We'll just, if you're okay, as long as I have consensus from the board, this is the number we're going to send out to the residents. The residents will have an opportunity to look at the budget and the recap, and then they can come and speak during the homeowner
You
comment
gotta
period.
remember, there's a lot of prep time for that, because they're gonna have to put a cover letter with it, along with the budget. and all that.
Okay.
so
There-
the,
Go ahead, Jeff.
no, the only thing that I would say is just, we haven't had an increase since 20 whatever, and there's
4
gonna,
years.
there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna, bring out the torches and pitchforks for this. So I think we just need to be prepared for that as a
6
board.
years. 6 years.
I'm not, I think we should have raised them every year, in my opinion. But you can't vote for me next year because I can't run. But I think that what we really should do is make sure that we have an FAQ sheet of why we did this, so that we have a canned answer all ready to go, for when this happens. It's just a standard practice for something like this.
Okay.
I've got two things. First is the item that's not settled yet, which is we've not received anything back from CCMC on the contract acceptance. So right now we have numbers in this budget based on the new contract that may or may not go through, if there's any problems with it. I don't know what the problem is right now with it coming back, or if there is a problem. But we have to take that into account as to what we're doing. And then the second part of this, and I've spoken with Steve about this privately already, is I think on all of our major changes, we should go down through for our budget and list what's happened, and list that the landscape contract itself upped the changes of it up to $35 per household is what the number is, $34.74 or something like that.
You were able to save.
But it's $35 per household. We're actually increasing the dues by 24, was it? 22? I forgot what the new number was, Steve.
It was $22.90.
$23. So we were able to find another $12 worth of savings this year out of the regular budget through other things.
If you want to talk about that, you might as well throw in the water cost, which was another.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
$37,000 that we didn't plan on.
You understand what I've already said, Steve? We're going to take the different items and merge them together and show increases and decreases as far as what came out of the budget, more or less. We're going to have contract savings, if we have a contract, of X number of dollars per homeowner. It's going to look pretty good there.
Yeah.
We're going to have, and I don't want to call it a loss, a contract loss, let's say, just because I don't have the other name up in my head, of $35 for the new landscaping bid. So when you see all those things coming down through there, this is the bottom line right here. This is as inexpensive as you're going to get the services that you're being provided right now today.
Yeah.
I'm finished.
Now, the only thing we don't have then would be the service area contract for landscaping, which could drive the service area costs up too. Is that probable?
Is there a consensus on that service area yet,
And
David? Or
that's a problem. No, that can be a problem, because if he wants to start finalizing this budget, we don't have that hammered down.
The service area budget won't affect the CROA or the CJC budget.
No.
They're standalone budgets that you'll be approving separately.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We only had 3 contractors, landscape contractors, who bid on the service area, so we sent that back out to bid. The deadline was today. So we should have everything in today and then be able to start analyzing that.
Okay, so we can have that wrapped up by the time we get to the bottom.
Susan, just so we have an idea, where are those contracts coming in relative to last year's service area budget?
Some of them are, I've only looked at 3 of them, but one of them was lower, one of them was higher, one of them was slightly higher.
Of the ones that you mentioned, which one might we choose?
I don't think the one that we choose is in that list.
Okay.
Well, I also want to point out, though, for service areas, when they bid on all of them, but the important number is each service area separately. So if you
True.
get, Blue Sage will have its number of units, and they'll split that cost amongst themselves. So that's key for us to look at. You got to have a company that will do the job that you're looking for and keep those costs relatively.
You might have some service areas that were being a bit overcharged, maybe for what they have, and you get a new contract in, and it takes them down a little bit. You may have others that go up because of the amount of work on the bid.
They're really going to affect the total overall budget.
Well, they pay assessments by their expenses, and each service area's big numbers are going to be landscaping in their research system.
Okay. All right, so any further, go.
I just want to say, good job on the budget. It was just such a better process, and I really feel it was very well thought out. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think people have asked us for a zero-based budget. As far as I'm concerned, that's what it was. I mean, every line item.
Good.
You know you did that.
Good. Glad we're happy now. Any further on the budget? Okay, let's move on. Discuss board input on storm cleanup.
Adequate job, man.
Steve, have you had your meeting yet with the CERT team?
The meeting's tomorrow. We had some other items that we were possibly going to discuss tonight that didn't happen, so we moved this up a month. But I know some of the feedback that we received from the board was for the boards to provide input on how things went from the storm cleanup. So I think that's what we want to do tonight, is the opportunity to hear back from you all on your thoughts on the storm cleanup.
I just had the one major thing, and I'm sure everyone had different things, but the biggest area of concern I heard from residents over the 3 or 4 days was either there was a neighbor beside them or a contractor across from them or someone where there either wasn't a large item moved, or in one of the cases there was a contractor that uses a yard next to them to store materials, and there were some unsafe objects. I don't know if there's a way to institute a I hate to say fine, but some type of thing where these things are moved 48 hours ahead of time, because that was the biggest concern that
Like the dumpsters and stuff?
Go ahead on this one.
The second thing would be some type of a central information source. People were just a little confused. They were looking to Town Hall and Steve, but of course you guys got to close down and use this for emergency operation, but just give them some type of a direction ahead of time and kind of keep it in the forefront on Friday flash where they're going to go for information.
Debbie, can I stop there? Can we focus on the first one first and see if we can come with any kind of...
Sorry.
I think Leonard
Anything we can do to resolve that first one?
Leonard can talk a little bit about the CAI.
We actually, at the CI meeting, I actually had a phone call in the middle of it, and I come back in, and Stephen's already asked the question of them. And then I did a follow-up question, and the question had to do with, what can you do with things like that? And basically, as most panels of attorneys will say, you need to come see an attorney. But there are some things we can do within there where we could issue, and it may have to go into, I'm trying to think, it may have to go into covenants, but it could come the next one down. What's the...
egregious
It
thing?
was self-help to where, just like you can go on and mow a lawn, if there's an emergency, you have the ability to go and provide self-help. So we could hire someone to move everything and then charge it back to the homeowner's account.
I
guess the real stickler there, though, is that the attorneys will also tell you, be careful going on people's property if it's not abandoned, because there's safety issues there. I mean, someone could come out with a gun and shoot you for going on their property. If they're not home, though, and they've left it all out and they're out of town, I mean, when we sent out to those homeowners that weren't here, their reply was, yes, whatever you can do to help, we would greatly appreciate it. So I think that we have the ability to do that.
Well, I think one of the other questions is there any sanctions that we can place upon a contractor for not doing cleaning up?
Leaving
Well, there's a difference between contractors that are working for the private homeowner and contractors that are working for CROA and for us that we manage. We certainly can put that in our contracts and say that they need to be cleaned up. Contractors that are working for homeowners are the responsibility of those homeowners. So the homeowner would be held responsible for not having those items cleaned up. Now, there were quite a few contractors that I talked to 2 days before the hurricane, and they said, we're just trying to get everything. I know people are a little panicked right now, but we got to get this job done so that we can pack everything up and get it out of here.
Well, Steve, on the boilerplate that ARC approves for various projects and stuff like that, can we put something in there that they have to have storm cleanup prior to the storm by a certain number of
I
hours?
like the idea of 48 hours.
Well, not 48 hours, whatever it's.
Yeah, 48 hours.
But I think some boilerplate where they acknowledge that they're going to be cleaning this thing up, or we're going to come after them.
Just make people aware, because I think a lot of the calls, I know that Steve, I'm sure you guys got, they were up north and they just didn't think about it. We hadn't had a real serious hurricane in a while.
Now, that works for the people that we approve with ARC, but what about the people who are doing projects inside houses that we have no control over their dumpsters?
We went, we split up, town hall split up, and we went looking for dumpsters, looking for anything that looked like it might blow away. We were calling back to community standards. They were calling the residents. We were calling the companies who have the portalettes or the dumpsters to get them to pick it up. People who had signs out on the boulevard, because those too, you have to worry about those blowing away. telling them to pick up their signs. So, you know, as just a general measure that we follow is we get out. I mean, I was out for 8 hours, a couple, 3 days before the storm, just looking for those things.
I think if you got, I mean, when they do the application to do the job, if we had in there, if there was a Cat 1 or above, the fine for non-removal 40 hours ahead is $250 or something, just so that you've got some
Or even if you,
I don't think you put that in there, because that's a rule that we have
You have to think of. But I think that the self-help is you're out, and you have the language in there for the self-help, and that's an expense to the homeowner if we have to go and do the work for them. Ultimately, what you're looking for is for them to clean up their stuff, because it becomes a projectile and a safety hazard. So you want them to get it cleaned up.
Can we include that in any approvals then?
We can look at that as being part of the ARC.
I'm sorry, you said we can't?
We can.
Oh, we can, okay.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing is, and this is completely separate to this meeting, and I just want to say this, is that, so I wasn't here for the storm, but I did prepare the house prior to it.
Of course you did.
But I think I also went to my neighbors' houses and moved their crap that I didn't want flying into my house. Yes, I trespassed. Yes, I probably vandalized something while I was doing it, but I moved that sort of stuff. I'm fine with it, because I've gotten I've had 2 baked goods so far as a result of it. But I think communicating that and making sure that residents are aware that check to see if your neighbor is home. And I know that we mentioned that sometimes. And I think just being more proactive about that is good, because you do have the people that are it is a second home for them or third home, and they don't they don't know what to do. So. But also letting people know that I think too, because there were a couple people that I know were like, well, yeah, I know my neighbor, but I don't know what. I'm trying their phone, but they're not calling. Do we have their contact information? Having them reach out to staff here to say, hey, I know you can't give me their number, but can you reach out to them or relay or something? So, it is what it is, but. I didn't end up with a bench through my window, so that worked well.
All right, Debbie, your second statement was what?
Just the central information source. People seemed confused. They're looking for you guys, but you guys got to close to be the operations center.
Yeah, you're busy. They're in Canada.
Yeah, I think it was just, there was just so many different areas. I mean, I think it was good, but I think they need to understand you guys have another function, and this is an emergency center, and you guys are going to sit here answering the phone. You have to close. So I just think that needs to be kind of educated ahead of time.
Well, I think the key to our communication throughout the storm was we wanted to get out the number that they should be calling, because if people, I think that a lot of time people believe that they should call here for pretty much everything, and we did not want people calling here during the storm because we wouldn't be able to help. So we wanted to make sure that the information we were putting out there was the correct information on everything that we said. We put it on flyers. We asked the different marquees in town to put it out on their marquee. This is a great opportunity for homeowners that don't sign up for the communication to get tied into communication, because we put the water out there, the horse has to come drink it though. So we got to get people to tie in and tap into the different sources of communication that we have. We are a CERT team. We have a CERT team here, and it's called the Emergency Response Team. But really, what it is it's post-storm and getting out and identifying what needs to be done in the community. Thank God we didn't have any major damage or any serious incidents with people's health. So that was great. So we got to focus more on how do we clean up and how quickly can we get cleaned up.
Well, to David and Debbie's point and a couple other people, I would like to see a cleanup checklist. So the next year when hurricane season comes out, guys, this is what you need to do, prepare. This is going to be the phone number you're going to call. Send it out in the newspaper, or send it out in Friday Flash, or an individual piece of paper. So it's all done at once, and we're ready to go prior to any storm.
As crazy as it is, I had someone call on Thursday or Friday, and he said, "Do you think I should get the porch furniture?" And I'm like, they'd never been in a hurricane. I'm like, yes.
That's where we do not want to be the source of authority. It's the news are telling everybody exactly what types of things you're supposed to do. So we don't want to usurp the National Weather Service.
Well, no, I'm just saying
I don't think you can say it enough, though. I think
you can caveat that if the governor declares a state of emergency, then you probably need to remove the stuff off your porch.
We did say that over and over again. We told people, follow this checklist of what you need to do. And the checklist had everything. Remove your furniture, tie down your patio stuff.
I will make one comment for post-hurricane, though. I don't think there was a good job done of triage. And I say that because there was, and I'll use Spring Park Loop as an example. That must have been a microburst or something that took all those trees down. And there was trees on top of buildings and things like that. And I'm sure that was the case throughout town. Some areas not as bad as others. But I think the one thing we do need to do is, as a CERT team, is to go out and do those, survey the whole town and look for places that need our help first.
No, they did.
And then work that way, work back.
I know Gary went out. Did you? Gary
Steve went out too. Steve was out too.
Yeah, I think you guys did that.
We all went out the minute the winds died down enough. Everybody was out and about, and homeowners were out on Spring Park Loop. And so I think one of the big, when it comes to the areas of responsibility, and we went out to look for safety first, but the development district was contracting and using their contractors to address all those easement trees and the ones that are on houses. We went into the parks then because the reality here in town was it was beautiful the next day, windy but beautiful, and we had residents and children, small children, playing on playgrounds. And playgrounds were filled with debris. There was broken glass from lights, and there were tree branches down. And there were hangers in trees that needed to be addressed. So we went out and used our resources to focus on parks. And the other benefit to that was getting the parks back up and running so that those kids that were out of school for a week had a place to play.
It was good. Tom McCollum, the one that does the consulting for CBD, said that the way you can judge a community is how it looks after the storm. And he said when he came through, it was like it never happened. I mean, there were still down trees and everything, but overall, it looked really, really good.
Right. All right, Paul's next.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, I just drove through Orlando, and there is still tree debris everywhere. So, the county is not picking it up. So, you really see the benefit of living in a place like Celebration.
Yeah, I think we recovered just the day after.
A lot of birds around the outside.
Where I would like to suggest is that I think the initial approach in getting things cleared was good and getting the major park areas, but I do feel that a lot of the parks, once the playgrounds were finished, a lot of our parks, there was a lot of debris in the parks, and I think one of the last things that really got cleaned up were a lot of our parks, just the trees and debris in the parks. And I guess what I saw happening was that we didn't have our we kind of relied on Davy, and Davy got bogged down in some really bad areas. I know Artisan Park was a really tough area, and they got bogged down in that. And meanwhile, all our parks were just sitting with a lot of debris on them. And we've got these maintenance guys, we've got a group of people that, to me, it makes sense, that they, until the parks are cleared and things, then you get the parks cleaned up as much as you can. You got to leave it to Davey to do some of the major, tree cutting, but they should work on that before they start doing their normal maintenance. So as I went around, I saw maintenance guys, painting a door at Heritage Park, and meanwhile our parks were full of debris. And I thought, that's not. They should be really working on cleaning up our parks, and get all that done before they start working on other maintenance stuff. So that was where I was disappointed. But still, it's way better than anywhere else you could live, really. So it's
I knew you had something to say.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your comments, but the reality is that the maintenance staff, we don't have the resources to fire up chainsaws and grinders. And,
I'm not saying chainsaws. I'm just saying get pickup trucks, get the debris, get tree limbs in the trees, go dump them somewhere. I'm not saying, because if you looked at Hippodrome was just full. It could have been, you could have had a group of 3 or 4 maintenance guys go out and clear that area out. Not completely, but 95% of it in 2 hours. And Long Meadow was okay, but a lot of the parks were a mess. North Village, the guys at Georgetown cleaned up our park in North Village.
Yeah, they were helping.
So you had groups. You had volunteer group from Georgetown. You had and again part of it is. I think if we had a good landscape contractor, they would have been doing a lot of this stuff. And doing, sure. I mean, when I came out on and looked the C&D, they had probably 40 guys. They had like 3 crews working clearing stuff, and they had more work to do. But they had a huge crew. And Davey, I saw one big crew that was clearing areas, but that was about it, other than a few people doing it. So. Part of the problem was Davey, but we could have supplemented it with So I'm not saying go in and take hacksaws and all that stuff, but there's a lot of other stuff they could be doing to clean those parks up. You don't think? You don't agree?
No, I thought they had gotten to the point where it was only landscape company that could come in and finish it up from that point, because the guys went in, got all the facilities back up and running. They focused on playgrounds first. Moving tree limbs in those areas, got rid of all the hazards within the areas that they were capable of, and had the means to do.
Yeah.
So, we'll look at it next time and see what else can be done to improve on it. But I really didn't see any areas where they could have jumped right in and made a huge difference, other than what their normal routine was.
Well, those were back open within 2 days. We had some of them open the next day, right?
The next day,
Spring
yeah.
Park was the most important with the amount of trees.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing that.
Afternoon.
Yeah, but what we did differently from Hurricane Matthew, we had guys scattered and doing a little bits and pieces here and there. So, some parks got open before the others. So what we did this time was systematically went to North Village, or started at Lakeside, and then we went to Spring Lake, I believe, then Spring Park, then East Village, North Village. Made sure everything that we could do was done before we moved on to the next one. So, but we'll look at if there's constantly.
So I'm asking, there's some stuff that those guys could do to.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that.
Yeah.
Steve, you asked us about New Leaf coming and cleaning up for us. How many days do we have New Leaf come in and
They
clean up?
did 2 days. It was a Thursday and Friday, and they went through all the alleys with Celebration Sanitation.
Okay.
And picked up off any additional debris out there in the alleys.
I think it was a good call trying to get them to do the cleanup right away. So maybe we should have them somebody on standby next time to help us clean up. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
David?
yeah, I have several things. One is just to reiterate or to elaborate a little bit on the whole idea of communication with residents. I think that I know we had some on the front end. I think some more would have been helpful. And even a resident, and I gathered some of these along the way, even some resident how to prepare your home checklists. I know the county had something, it's abysmal on their website. It's not even a checklist, it's just a long litany. So I think there's some user-friendly things that we can prepare now because it's generic to any hurricane. Also on communication, I think afterwards, you talked about the triage, which I think was very helpful. Susan, you're talking about that on the front end. You all went out on the back end. I think communicating back to residents, we are prioritizing A, then B, then C, then D. Because it was just, they didn't know. The other thing is, I saw, Steve, you shared with us the procedures that were developed for hurricane preparedness. But in going around, I saw several good pieces of work that were done. I saw benches collapsed behind themselves. I saw various things, took some pictures. I think that we need a much more detailed procedures list. Todd, you probably inherited that. So I think all of these lessons learned become the next detailed checklist for management. I think that's really important. Then the last thing I would offer is I think it's vital, I think we talked about this at a board meeting, giving the residents time for input. And so one thought Debbie and I had, and you'll see this tomorrow, is in the next quarterly survey that goes out in November, is to have one of our 3 questions about hurricane, just residents' reactions. Where'd you get your information? Who'd you rely on? What went well beforehand? What went well afterwards? Any suggestions? So just getting resident input. I don't know that we need to have a community-wide meeting, but that's an opportunity for them to give their input just as we have this opportunity here. And they have their opportunity to come to meetings, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, then I'm going to close it up with one thing. Becker Polikoff published a PDF on hurricane preparedness, and that was a very good thing.
Nice. Who did that?
Becker Polikoff. They sent it to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
So if we could meld that into some of the stuff we have. All right, so now, 4th item that we have is discussion of cameras and celebration. Eric and myself and Lee Moore were in a phone conversation earlier today about that. Steve, are you going to get the resolution from Tom, or what are we getting?
There's a copy of it in your packet.
Okay.
I think he's going to visit the...
Oh, he's going to visit the green and yellow tile roof.
Check the tile.
All right, so...
Jack, notice that I didn't really check on it. I just have some things I can do last for whenever I check things.
On cameras? Okay, let me start off with Eric, okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to address anything that we talked about?
Sure. I mean, I'll give a synopsis of kind of what it is. I mean, I know here we have the board resolution, which, as we stated previously, I think this needs to be done no matter what we do. We have camera systems already in place in the community. Yeah. We need to have a guideline for it. It's already done. But we spoke with Lee Moore from the CDD today, is talking about the partnership for an entry and exit camera system in the community. I think a couple of things that need to be real specific on it is that it's not a silver bullet. This isn't something that's going to instantly solve all crime in every incident in the community, but it's another tool that can be offered in the sheriff's toolkit. The reason why we kind of need to look with the CDD at minimum is because the way this works and the way the pricing model works is we need to at minimum have permission to install in their easement. It boils down to that. If we can interconnect with the existing utility poles that are there, with the electricity and stuff like that, there's obviously a significant cost savings there to do that. So at minimum, we need to start that conversation going if we want to look at the entry and the entry and exit system. But just to make sure that the two are separate, the board resolution, I think we need to proceed on no matter what we do with the entry and exit system.
So anybody have a problem with putting that on for a board agenda item?
No.
Thank you for all your work on this.
No, that's Tom Slayton's job.
Yes, Tom, so I didn't do anything.
The only question I have...
Well, you gave him input.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Larry.
The only question I have is on number 4. All video cameras shall include a sign that cameras are recording but are not actively monitored. do we actually need that by the cameras or just in the areas? In other words, you go into a pool, we may have 3 or 4 cameras. Or you go to the dog park, you may have 3 or 4 cameras there. So just to sign up as you enter the area that we have cameras. I'm talking about parks and or dog park, pools where we do have cameras passively monitoring right now. That number 4 just needs a slight word change there, and I don't know exactly what to do with it, but it could use something, a little bit of a tweak.
Get Iris to tweak it for us.
So
all
needs to be in the area.
Maybe all,
right? Yeah.
all. Well, we can tweak it real quick though. It'd be something like all areas.
I think that's something we need to ask
Illegal.
council on that.
That's something.
We can kick it back to Tom.
Yeah, we got time to do that. We're talking about number 4.
Right.
We get a better clarification on that one, or better wording.
And I don't know if you missed it, Steve. You go in somewhere like Lakeside or the dog park, you might have 8 cameras in there.
Right.
We don't have to have a sign at each camera. We need to notify people as they enter the area.
Just one sign. So that-
One sign and try to get him to reword that so we have the correct resolution.
Now, one of the things we discussed, and we started looking at the scope of this whole thing, is that, it's not just protecting CROA property. We're actually protecting CROA and CJC, CDD, each CDD property. So from that standpoint, I'd like to partner with all these groups as far as getting their financial help in doing this. Okay, because I don't think it's, we're talking about Emerson, Evander Square, all that stuff out there in the Celebration Boulevard. Well, they're not paying the CROA dues that we're paying.
For that matter, I would think
Well, we
the
can't go on their
condo
property.
associations would want to help.
Well, sometimes though, like the C2D pays for sheriff duty, so yeah, we're not paying for part of that.
No, but I'm just saying, this whole protection issue, the monitoring the cameras, will benefit everybody.
Yeah,
It's
but
not just-
the sheriff benefits everybody, but we're not paying for that.
Well, yes, you are, because you're paying taxes for that.
C2D.
No, we're paying taxes to the CDD for that. So you are paying for it.
Yeah, the CDD's paying. Now we're saying, but CDD's paying for all that. CROA's not. So now we're saying, well, CROA's going to provide cameras, but we want CDD to pay for part of that. I mean, sometimes you just kind of just.
I'm not focusing mainly on CDD. I'm talking about CANOA benefiting from it.
All right, that's fine. CANOA, whatever.
Or
I'm just
CJC,
saying.
because there's another number of entities
Yeah.
that we're protecting.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
But I
So
would say we need to,
Well,
I would farm it off on CDD.
No, I
but
want to partner with.
I would definitely solicit them, though.
Well, my issue with
They're going
CDD
to say, well, we pay for half of the sheriff.
Well, my issue with CDD is I want to partner with them as far as getting an easement to use their properties for
okay,
the
yes.
Yeah.
the mounting of the poles and stuff.
Definitely.
Okay, that's a very important thing.
Thank you. I just have 3 things.
Yeah.
Could we mention, Eric, somewhere here, I know we know this, but just as a general for everybody else, that we cannot view the condos, apartments, school areas,
That what?
well, they keep saying, put the cameras behind Emerson and Evander, we can't go in those areas. Can we address that or no?
We're not putting them there.
I don't think you could do that.
Well, we're not putting them there.
You
I
mean
know
put it in the
that, I'm just saying, can we
No.
address that we are not? I mean, that we are not, and we cannot,
You mean in the resolution?
yeah.
It doesn't belong there.
The resolution go up.
We can't do condos, we're not going to do Evander, we're not going to do Emerson, which is their immediate thing is they want them in those areas. People don't understand the different alphabet soup. That's just a suggestion, if we can. The second thing on the number 4, could we please put that in 2 languages?
I'm sorry.
Debbie, can I go
Sorry?
back to your first one real quick? If you look at the 3rd paragraph in the resolution, it says the board of directors wishes to install monitoring systems, including video cameras, on association-owned common areas. So only association-owned common areas.
I think what Debbie's talking about is.
I don't know if we just put parentheses, we are not able to monitor private property, for example, private apartment, it's just a thought. I know that we get it, for clarification.
To exclude condominiums and apartment
Or
complexes.
just say we can't monitor private property or apartment complexes, just informational.
So I just want to make sure I understand what the concern is. Is the concern that residents will think that we're monitoring their houses through
No,
the cameras?
the concern is that people that live in apartments don't understand why we can't put apartment
All these other
cameras
entities
in.
want us to
There's an
put cameras up
expectation.
in their areas.
Right.
I'm sorry?
All these other entities outside of CROA common areas would like for us to put cameras up in their areas, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're not going to do it. I'm just going to say we need to be clear that we aren't going to monitor those areas. It's just a suggestion.
Maybe only on association-owned common area, and that solves that.
Just something, yeah.
That would
help. Thank you.
But we're putting the cameras on
The second thing,
CDD.
please, if we, for number 4, can put it in the languages.
Well, no.
We can't change that.
So I think,
Fill in the
Can we
streets.
use Spanish too?
so I think, yeah,
No, that's not the basically, she's talking about the facility
Yeah.
cameras we have in the parks.
so I think,
I mean, it's our another major language.
oh, yeah, no, I don't have a problem with the Spanish piece. Yeah,
Can we
I
do
think that's
that?
fine.
We do need to change it because it's, it's,
I mean, just add the language, just make sure that all cameras include a sign in 2 languages. The top 2 languages being English and Spanish, I believe.
Do we need that in the resolution, or do we just
No,
make
it's
the sign?
not, it's not a
Do we just
resolution.
make the sign into
That's in the
language?
sign.
yeah, you don't need that in the resolution.
Oh, yeah, they can do it with the sign.
Yeah, the
You don't
sign.
have to
In
have
fact,
a
that would maybe be
resolution.
a smart place.
As long as we
The
do it.
resolution, the resolution was to help cover CROA for putting in the cameras throughout the common areas of the park. It doesn't lay out everything that you can or cannot do with the cameras, or where you can or cannot put them throughout the community. It just gives you, and remember, you all asked Tom to develop this to give
Right.
you the guiding principles for how you put these cameras in.
I just think if we're going to have a sign, I would just like to say that it's in both languages, or I think the resolution is missing.
Well, yeah,
here.
Well,
I think the signs probably need to be dual language.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's separate from the resolution.
But
The
this
resolution
thing,
just says you have to have a
You can't say it in
sign.
the
this resolution
Okay.
deals with association property. What we're talking about now, when we've had cameras in association, so now what we're doing is expanding to beyond association property. So
It encompasses everything. 'Cause
everything.
I think
So,
what
but I
Tom-
agree with Debbie is that we need to make sure that as long as we're talking about increasing what we're doing, we need to make sure we say we aren't,
Yeah.
Well, this would be in our,
there's some things we are going to do and some, I don't know.
This
We're-
would
Well,
be-
that's what Susan's saying, though. She's
Yeah.
just only
Association
common
property.
area.
But it wouldn't be
But
only,
it
because it
wouldn't.
would be in CBD areas.
So I think, to me though, I'll be quite blunt. I don't see us putting an entry and exit camera system anywhere in the near future. There's no way in heck we're going to get everyone to agree on this. I've been working on this for 4 years.
Eric, I don't
What do you
think you're
say?
wrong.
So,
I think
I-
you've got 4 votes. I'm for it.
no,
Can we just get a consent? I mean,
We're just trying to figure
who's
out the,
interested?
So I think, I think what we need is the resolution's got to go either way. No matter
I
what we
think
do.
you have-
So, but I think that.
Before you leave, I'd like to see this done, and I think you have 4 people.
Well, which is great. The only challenge, though, and I'm happy that we're willing to make the investment, but if we don't have the support of at minimum the CDD on it, then we're dead in the water.
well, that's fine.
So
We have 4
Okay.
directions we can go. We
Well,
either not put the
Okay,
cameras.
last thing,
The
sorry.
resolution is the
Last
first step,
thing.
right?
yeah.
Last thing, sorry. On the images, can we just add for our protection that the storage may fail and we're not responsible for technical difficulties if the recordings are not there?
Number
Some
5,
type of
right?
language for that. Under number 6 and number 7, and possibly 5. I don't know, ask Lily or
Well, once you say it once,
Yeah, it might need to be its own
Is that
number.
good?
yeah, once you say it.
wherever
Yeah,
Eric
or-
puts it.
yeah,
Okay.
wherever.
That's all,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah, can we go back to the previous one? So for Tom, just so he understands that we do want to be able to put the cameras on CDD property, but we do not want, the condominiums or the apartments thinking that we will put cameras to secure their property. So however that affects the resolution. So,
Can we vote on the
Right.
next meeting?
yeah, he's going to get the changes.
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to make sure it's
that's
found.
25th.
We're just trying to
Yeah.
Nailed
find
down.
what Tom needs to make sure is in there. So is there any hold up on the CDD? I mean, CDD, I can't see them not supporting it, or is
No,
that-
I think Lee's going to put that
Yeah,
up
okay.
tomorrow to them.
as long as they're not having to pay for it. it's-
Good job, Eric.
So the only other thing we have to discuss right now, then, it was not on the agenda, but our 25th meeting, do we want to have Jerry and any of the deputies meeting with us? There seems to be a thread that's going around the community, and,
I think if we're talking about cameras, that might be a good thing. I don't know.
well, I don't want him talking about cameras.
Okay.
Okay, we've heard Jerry's position on
Up to you
cameras
guys.
already. But this basically is dealing with crime, which is basically a whole nother meeting, rather than just a simple
I think that's
board
something you
meeting.
probably want to notices in a workshop.
I think the challenge, though, that we have is that the sheriff's office has already stated that they're planning on attending the meeting on the 25th.
Okay.
So we're kind of stuck.
Then, if that's the case, then we need to make that an agenda item, and let's,
We can put it as the first item before.
we can make the first.
Yeah, but I think what
Do
we...
you want to put them first or last if there are a lot of questions?
No, we don't want them to sit
They don't want to have to be here for 4
Yeah.
hours.
I think the only
I
thing
don't wanna be here
that I
4
would,
hours.
that I would request that we want to coordinate with the sheriff's office is that we understand what they're here for, and that we properly communicate that to the residents on what they're here for. So if they are here to discuss recent incidents, or are they just here for a Q&A? You know, kind of, we need to make sure that we keep that scope very limited to
I
whatever
agree.
topic they want to discuss.
I agree.
Because that's also going to impact likely who the sheriff sends to the event.
Why are they
They've
here?
already identified who they're going to send, but I think what they're going to talk about is the typical stuff that Jerry puts in the newspaper.
Right.
Lock your doors, remove all your articles of value out of your car, buy the locks for your wheels. I think they'll probably talk about the trends of what we're seeing throughout the United States right now when it comes to this type of crime.
Right.
So it'll probably be a little bit more of that, and then maybe answer. I mean, if you open it up for question and answer, you got to probably put a time frame on it.
Well, and that's my concern. And so, it's just that we keep it specific.
I would, well, this is something I want to meet with Cliff about, because I want to find out the exact amount of time that the Zone 21 deputy is spending in celebration. Okay. I don't think we're getting our share.
I think after Jerry is finished speaking, and whoever he's brought with him, when they're through doing their thing, that if they have time, any residents in the audience that want to have questions of them can go out in the hallway and ask them.
Can we open up another
I don't think we need another
room?
necessarily. I don't think you're going to get that large of a crowd.
You can utilize the lobby.
We'll see. We'll see how it works out.
You may get people. They're not going to sit on those couches, I can tell you that.
All right, just one last question. You'd mentioned some of that Tom Slayton's coming up with a drone resolution for us, too. Where is that?
I haven't heard anything from him, so I'll check with him.
He's got quite a bit of work.
Are we paying for that, or would the whoever wants to do the drone thing?
No,
pay for
he
that?
drew one up for...
He drew one up. We're just
Already.
Oh, I'm sure we're getting a bill, Paul.
We're just stealing it.
I'm just saying, why are we paying that? Why wouldn't we charge?
There's two different things going on, Paul.
Okay. Oh, it's our own personal drone.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting a drone, and
Yeah.
we certainly want some kind of
I gotcha.
rules in place, but as our owners get drones, we want to get ahead
I
of the
gotcha.
curve
I gotcha.
so that we have a resolution in place so that they understand
I
exactly
gotcha.
what
They
they
have to
can
be
and cannot
licensed.
do.
I got you. I got you.
And I think you're all aware of that there's a company that wants to come in and do a demonstration in January.
For food delivery.
Yeah.
Yes, for fast food delivery.
So I would like to have this in place by then.
I would like someone to start doing that, because I really don't want to do that, the
Like
drone
you?
thing. It doesn't interest me.
Unmanned aerial vehicle?
No, as far as contacting the guy and letting him know, because
I'll contact him.
I'd initially had contacted him and said I was going to do it after the Wednesday meeting. Well, I didn't stay for the whole Wednesday meeting, so
You're talking about the food delivery guy?
yes. So I've not contacted him since. He sent me an email, and I've just been
So we pay Steve.
Yeah, punt him to Steve.
I've just been silent since then. I didn't know if a board member wanted to do
Make him earn his keep. Make him earn somebody.
That's what they're there for.
All
You're on
right.
vacation for 6 months.
All right, so now, do we have any other
No,
comments?
sir, I move to adjourn.
Debbie, anything more?
No,
Paul?
believe it or not, thank you.
Eric? Nope. Leonard?
nothing.
Steve? Susan? Anything? All right. I got a motion to adjourn, so we're adjourned.
It's a beautiful thing.
Can I see you just a minute?
It only takes an hour and 37 minutes, plus the original 30 minutes prior to the...
I was here for 2 hours. I was here for 2 hours.
Well, let me think, where was I? I was right beside you.
Steve, our executive director.